If you dig just a little into McDonald's past, you're bound to come across a sandwich they introduced called the McDLT. The McDLT, time and time again, finds itself in videos and on numerous lists of top 10 discontinued McDonald's items. There are even petitions online demanding McDonald's to bring the McDLT back. But what exactly was the McDLT? And why has it never come back? All of this and more will be answered as this is the History of McDonald's, Chapter 9, The History of the McDLT. The 1980s was a decade in which McDonald's kept pushing out new menu items. The McChicken made its debut in 1980, along with the McNuggets and the McRib being introduced in 1981. The purpose of the McDLT was to bring competition to Burger King's signature sandwich, the Whopper. This wasn't the first time McDonald's tried to make a Whopper-like sandwich, as almost 10 years before the McDLT, McDonald's filed a trademark for a burger named the McFeast on December 12, 1975. The McFeast originally was served on a bakery roll-style bun, but then a year later was given a normal quarter-pounder style bun. Among many other things, the burger featured lettuce, tomatoes, pickles, and slivered onions. The McFeast lasted for a few years in the United States, until slowly being discontinued in 1979. So now, before we look at how it was created, let's check out what the McDLT actually was. The McDLT was a quarter-pound beef patty, a slice of American cheese, iceberg leaf lettuce, which turned into shredded lettuce later on, 2 tomato slices, onions, pickles, mayonnaise, mustard, and ketchup, all on a sesame seed bun. Now the name, McDLT, stood for McDonald's lettuce and tomato. The D in the McDLT stood for the Donald's in McDonald's. Before the McDLT, the burgers most of the time were served to where everything was the same temperature. When the food made it to the customers, the beef patty was hot, but so were the ingredients that were meant to be cool and crisp, like lettuce and tomatoes. McDonald's used the McDLT as the immediate competition against the Whopper from Burger King. McDonald's had the idea to make the McDLT taste like it was made to order and as fresh as it could be, where the leaf lettuce and tomatoes were cool and crisp, and the beef patty stayed hot. During this time, McDonald's served almost all of their sandwiches in polystyrene packaging. So with this form of packaging, McDonald's was able to make a special design for the McDLT to make sure the sandwich would taste fresh every single time. Needless to say, this special packaging for the burger was enormously different. The McDLT box was a longer polystyrene non-clamshell box that had 2 separate compartments. The 2 compartments held different ingredients of the sandwich. The right compartment kept the ingredients that were hot. First, with the bottom bun, then the quarter-pound beef patty. Then to the left compartment, kept the cool ingredients. First with the top of the bun, then followed by ketchup, mustard, onions, pickles, lettuce, mayo, a slice of American cheese, and 2 tomato slices. When a customer would order the McDLT, they would have to build the burger themselves, putting the 2 halves together to experience the cool and hot burger as it was meant to be. So that's the basics of the burger. Now, let's get into the origin of how the McDLT was created. The story of the creation and development of the McDLT is credited to 3 McDonald's franchisees: Wilmer May from East Texas, and Gus and Nick Caros, 2 brothers who owned McDonald's franchises in Ohio. In the early 1980s, Wilmer May was wanting to serve a simple hamburger with lettuce and tomato at his location. In the past, he had requested McDonald's corporate in Chicago to try this idea on a national scale, unlike the McFeast, which was only available in select markets. Wilmer had asked before, thinking this would be a hit on the menu, and was turned down before. And this time, Traveling once again from Texas to Chicago and proposing this burger idea, he got the same response. McDonald's corporate explained that the lettuce could never be fresh as it was served atop a hot burger patty. Wilmer walked out of the office defeated and headed back to East Texas. A few weeks later, while thinking about what was said, an idea popped into his head. Quickly, he grabbed 2 ashtrays to demonstrate his idea. Looking at these 2 ashtrays side to side, working as dividers, the cool ingredients would be on one side and the hot ingredients in the other. He then grabbed 2 other ashtrays to cover the top. Wilmer then took this idea to a specialty packaging company where the development of the box went even further. The beginning of 1984, Wilmer tested his new sandwich in his McDonald's locations in Lufkin and Nacogdoches, Texas. In this early stage of the sandwich, it was called the McDonald's Lettuce and Tomatoes Special, or the LTS for short. The price for the LTS was $1.49, a bit pricey for a McDonald's burger at that time. The LTS became a hit in the area, so much that it made Wilmer confident enough to take his idea to McDonald's corporate once again to show them what he had done. After seeing what he had done, McDonald's started to make some calls. This is when brothers Nick and Gus Caros came into the picture. Nick Caros had been handling operations in McDonald's corporate since 1958, and by 1965, Nick left corporate McDonald's to build upon more franchises in Cleveland, Ohio with his brother Gus. Then in early 1984, McDonald's corporate approached the Caros brothers and were asked to help the LTS become a new menu item to be sold nationwide. The brothers looked at the packaging of the LTS and they came up with the top part of the box sealable with the bottom part. This would effectively make the hot side stay hot and the cool side stay cool for much longer. They likened the hot side of the package as a mini oven and the cool side as a mini refrigerator. All along, while the kinks were being worked out, the LTS was being test marketed in many larger cities in the United States. Throughout this development, the name of the lettuce and tomato special hamburger changed. The name officially changed on June 11th, 1985, when McDonald's filed a trademark for the name McDLT. With trademarks in place and test markets that had proven that the McDLT would be a hit, McDonald's was all in and took the McDLT onto the next step: advertising. A commercial hit United States television screens in test markets promoting the McDLT. The commercial begins with a man in a white suit jacket asking a crowd of people if they want their hamburger hot and their tomato and lettuce cool and crisp all at the same time. The man says, "You got it," and introduces the new McDLT. What happens next in pure 1980s fashion is the man, along with all the people following him, breaking out into song, singing about the McDLT and how the hot stays hot and the cool stays cool. This commercial in particular is legendary in a few ways. First off, it was introducing one of the most infamous burgers in the history of McDonald's. And the second was that the man singing in the white suit jacket was none other than actor and Broadway performer Jason Alexander. Alexander starred in this commercial just a few years before he landed the role as George Costanza in the hit sitcom Seinfeld. It was a long time coming for Jason Alexander at this point to star in this commercial. A little background about Alexander is that after 3 years of studying theater in Boston University, Alexander dropped out and pursued acting in New York City around 1980. Being a talented singer and dancer on Broadway, he found work featuring in television commercials, such as SOS Pads and Hershey Kisses in 1981, Delta Airlines and Pabst Blue Ribbon in 1983, Good and Plenty, Levi's Jeans, and the Sony Watchman in 1984. And then by 1985, it was his time to shine. Using his talents as a Broadway singer and dancer, singing about the McDLT alongside a synth and drum machine instrumental was how the United States was introduced to the McDLT. The McDLT was being sold in select test markets. It was being ordered, and it became an instant hit. November 4th, 1985. McDonald's greenlit the McDLT to become available nationwide in all 6,700 McDonald's locations in the United States. An advertising campaign for the McDLT soon followed, and McDonald's put a substantial amount into its budget to push the burger even further into the green. Another big commercial in 1985 featured Aretha Franklin and Jerry Butler singing at an award show for the greatest lettuce and tomato hamburger. Across the entire nation, people were loving the McDLT. It had finally filled McDonald's need for an effective burger with lettuce and tomato. Competitors of McDonald's looked at it as a cheap gimmick. Wendy's looked at the McDLT, and they said it's what they've been doing for years already. They continued that the hype of it will die down, as most of the interest came from the twin bay box that it came in. A Burger King spokesman said that the McDLT was competition to the Whopper, but that the Whopper was the most powerful sandwich in the industry. This Burger King spokesman said that it was a bad idea to make your customers assemble their own sandwich. Regardless, customers kept ordering the McDLT. Suggested retail price was $1.49, but some restaurants charged up to 20 cents more. This made the McDLT one of the most expensive menu items at that time. Another commercial at this time featured rival street gangs singing the same McDLT song that Jason Alexander sang in the style and theme of the musical West Side Story. In this early time of its life, the McDLT had the tagline, "The cool, hot burger." Other random commercials urged people to try the McDLT in order to join the McDLT to taste the adventure. By the end of 1985, a commercial featuring Chicago Bears football player William the Refrigerator Perry hit the air. It featured Perry ordering 4 McDLTs, 2 large fries, and a Diet Coke. The next year, in 1986, the McDLT was carrying the tagline, "The one with the works." A commercial in 1986 featured Gladys Knight and the Pips as they sang about the McDLT on their tour bus. It ends with them stopping by McDonald's. In 1987, Janet Hubert, who wound up playing Aunt Viv in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air in 1990, was in a McDLT commercial as she brung in groceries and stocked her fridge. It ends with her eating a McDLT. From 1985 through 1988, McDonald's made several different commercials for the McDLT. It became such a universal sandwich that it appealed to every demographic. It was such a big deal that the burger was advertised in magazines as well. One ad from 1988 had a custom page made with 5 holes in it to stick your fingers in to simulate like you're holding the McDLT that was printed on the page. A fun fact is that McDonald's nationwide used 800,000 tomatoes and 100,000 heads of lettuce daily to make McDLTs. That adds up to 300 million tomatoes and 36 million heads of lettuce per year. But in December of 1989, a tomato shortage hit the United States. This was because of the 1989 cold wave that killed agriculture in Florida and Texas. Because of this tomato shortage, and to not up the price of the McDLT, McDonald's made some changes. So instead of using 2 slices of tomato on the McDLT, they cut it down to 1 slice. This switch from 2 tomato slices to 1 was so definite that the design on the McDLT boxes were even changed, showing the burger with only 1 tomato slice. Talking about the new, revised McDLT boxes, McDonald's was also feeling the heat from environmentalists about their use of polystyrene packaging. So comparing the McDLT boxes from 1985 through 1988 to the ones from 1989, the 1989 boxes were slightly smaller. This slight change in the size of the box was an attempt from McDonald's to appease the environmental protesters. But given all these changes, things were still going well for the burger. It was business as usual until late 1990. November 1st, 1990, McDonald's announced that they were changing their food packaging due to environmental issues with their polystyrene packaging. This change would be made by late December 1990. This news sealed the deal for McDLT's fate immediately, as its whole concept relied on its packaging. And needless to say, the McDLT was discontinued in December of 1990. The question is, how did this happen? Why the switch of packaging? For the answer, we have to go back 3 years earlier. August 1st, 1987, the group, the Citizens Clearinghouse for Hazardous Waste, or CCHW for short, started protesting McDonald's. Their campaign was called the McToxics Campaign, in which their goal was to make McDonald's stop using their polystyrene packaging. The reasons the CCHW had against this packaging, and McDonald's being their target, was that McDonald's was the largest user of polystyrene food packaging. The organization was bringing to light the manufacturing process and the many years the packaging sticks around before it finally breaks down. From their early efforts, some areas like Portland, Oregon, and Berkeley, California, banned the use of the foam packaging in their McDonald's locations. The protests carried on throughout the next couple of years. After a meeting in 1989, McDonald's said that they'd begin a recycling project called McRecycling, and that they would pay for traveling expenses for the activists to come meet them at the McDonald's headquarters. As CCHW did their work of bringing awareness to the situation, McDonald's didn't decide on ending their use of polystyrene packaging until the Environmental Defense Fund, EDF for short, stepped in. EDF partnered with McDonald's and looked at how McDonald's locations in the United States ran and looked for solutions on how to lower its waste. After everything, the EDF was able to cut down McDonald's waste by 30% by getting rid of the polystyrene packaging. Even though ending polystyrene packaging is what sealed the deal on the McDLT's death, there was another reason that made McDonald's not want to work around the no polystyrene packaging. It was that even since the beginning, the quality and experience of the McDLT varied by location. It all came down to how the McDLT was handled before it reached the customer. That would determine if you got a McDLT that was hot and cool, or one that was hot and hot. This is because many people would order a McDLT, and then after that, it would sit under the heat lamps and make everything in the McDLT hot. This was an uncommon occurrence, but it was enough for many people to say the same thing about the sandwich. So McDonald's abandoned and waved goodbye to the concept of the McDLT by the end of 1990. The McDLT died, but its spirit lived on. Early 1991, McDonald's worked to keep some type of burger with lettuce and tomato on their menu. As McDonald's was seeing the writing on the wall with a large push for healthier menu options, they made a plan. In Auburn, Alabama, in Auburn's Animal Science Building at Auburn University, a 91% fat-free quarter-pound beef patty was being developed. Compared to the usual 20% of fat content in their burgers, with only 9%, McDonald's had their eyes on this and introduced it as the very first low-fat burger in fast food history. What made this burger low-fat was that lean ground beef was combined with seasoned water that was binded with a seaweed extract called carrageenan, replacing the taste in what would have been fat. Checking in at 320 calories, the McLean Deluxe was made of the lean beef patty, lettuce, tomato, pickles, ketchup, mustard, onions, and a low-calorie mayonnaise packet served on the side. The McLean Deluxe cost $1.89, which, much like the McDLT, put it as a more premium burger on the menu. October 1990, McDonald's filed a trademark for the name Lean Deluxe. The next month, in November of 1990, McDonald's started testing the McLean Deluxe. The first test market was in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and over the next 4 months, testing spread to 4 other markets, from Baltimore all the way down to South Florida. During this test market phase, it was given great reviews. The McLean Deluxe was rushed from test marketing to hitting menus nationwide on April 19, 1991. The burger was described as a revolutionary way to eat McDonald's while on a diet. The McLean Deluxe was McDonald's answer to the backlash over the years that their menu items contained too much fat. McDonald's just didn't stop at this burger to make things more healthier on their menu. It was also around this time where they switched up how they prepared their apple pies, from deep fried to baked. The oil for the French fries were also changed from beef tallow to 100% vegetable oil. Salads were already available, but now were given a larger spotlight. And looking at the breakfast items, sodium was lowered in their hotcakes and sausage patties. The buns to their burgers were fortified with calcium and vitamins, and when it came to ice cream, they started serving low-fat frozen yogurt. 6 volunteers taste tested the McLean Deluxe next to the Quarter Pounder. 1 chose the Quarter Pounder over the McLean. That one person simply said the McLean patty was dry and tasteless, but they liked the lettuce and tomato and all the other ingredients that came with it. McDonald's made a huge push for the McLean Deluxe to be a hit, but out of the gate, it wasn't seeing the same success that the McDLT had. Rivals of McDonald's like Hardee's didn't waste any time to promise everyone that their new burger, the real Lean Deluxe, didn't contain any seaweed additive. In April 1993, due to the popularity and influence of the newly elected president Bill Clinton, who regularly frequented McDonald's on his campaign run, got more people into eating McDonald's food again. Articles started running the line, "Fat is back." With this in mind, McDonald's started test marketing a sandwich in the Washington, D.C. area called the Mega Mac. It was the polar opposite of what the McLean Deluxe was. And then over the next couple of years, the little popularity the McLean Deluxe had fizzled out. From the very beginning, many franchisees never liked the McLean, as it was against what McDonald's stood for with having no additives to the beef. It was never an easy sell, either to franchise owners or customers. And by summer of 1996, the McLean Deluxe was discontinued. The second reincarnation of the McDLT picked up right where the McLean Deluxe left off, with a burger called the Arch Deluxe. As McDonald's saw that the end of the McLean Deluxe was near, they started working on a replacement in 1995, the Arch Deluxe. This would be the second attempt from McDonald's to replicate the success of the McDLT and continuing competition for the Whopper from Burger King. They had to attack a burger with lettuce and tomato in a brand new way that they hadn't before. McDonald's appointed their head chef, Andrew Salvaggio, to come up with a unique and different burger that set it apart from everything else. Salvaggio, working in a test kitchen, tasted over 30 types of mustards, got bakers to make potato rolls for the buns, created a different salt-to-pepper ratio, and developed procedures on peppered bacon. After a year, and then several months of testing, the Arch Deluxe was created. It was made of a split-top potato sesame seed bun, a quarter-pound all-beef patty, a circular piece of peppered bacon, leaf lettuce, 1 slice of tomato, American cheese, slivered onions, ketchup, and its signature Arch sauce, which was a mix of Dijon mustard and mayonnaise. In the eyes of McDonald's, they saw the Arch Deluxe as the burger to win it all. They estimated to make $1 billion in sales from the burger in the first year alone. October 1995, the Arch Deluxe was test marketed through a Taste of the Month promotion in Canada. November 28, 1995, McDonald's filed a trademark for the name Arch Deluxe. 6 months later, as test markets in Canada gave the burger a positive response, the Arch Deluxe was given the green light to be released nationwide in the United States. The release of the Arch Deluxe also came with one of the most expensive marketing campaigns done by McDonald's. It also became the largest marketing failure in McDonald's history. To set up the plan McDonald's had for the Arch Deluxe, the menu items already had a bit of a nostalgia factor, so the classic existing menu items appealed to adults and kids, but mostly for kids. From a logical sales approach, seeing an empty area and filling it to appeal to customers with a more mature taste seemed to be a smart move. With the Arch Deluxe in place, McDonald's would have all of their bases covered. The Arch Deluxe was seen as a premium item that had a sophisticated taste. This meant that kids wouldn't necessarily like unfamiliar tastes. This is when McDonald's chose an ad campaign for the Arch Deluxe with the slogan, "The burger with the grown-up taste." May 9th, 1996, the Arch Deluxe was officially released nationwide in the United States as well as Canada. Depending on the area, the Arch Deluxe cost $2.09 up to $2.49. Then the estimated $150 to $200 million advertising campaign kicked off. McDonald's had placed coupons in magazine ads to try their burger for free with purchase of a drink and fries. These ads featured the faces of kids scrunching their faces in disgust over the idea of the Arch Deluxe. The ads continued to explain that it was the burger with the grown-up taste. So of course, the kids wouldn't like it. This theme blended into the TV commercials as well, with a young teenage boy and a girl sitting across from each other on a date. The boy is eating a regular burger and picking things off of it as the girl watches him with an Arch Deluxe in her hands in disgust. The commercial went on with the girl saying that girls do mature faster than boys. With the public seeing these commercials of kids turning their noses up at a burger and saying that it's horrible, it gave the wrong impression and turned everyone away, children and adults. Needless to say, this marketing angle McDonald's went with was a complete and utter disaster. An exception of the reoccurring theme of kids hating the Arch Deluxe were a series of commercials featuring the chef himself, Andrew Salvaggio, working in the kitchen or out in daily life explaining the ingredients of the burger. September 27, 1996. McDonald's tried to keep things afloat by introducing the Deluxe line of sandwiches. These new sandwiches were the Fish Fillet Deluxe, the Grilled Chicken Deluxe, and the Crispy Chicken Deluxe. As the complete Deluxe line of sandwiches sold moderately into 1997, sales didn't live up to expectations. Into the years of 1998 and 1999, the Deluxe burger line disappeared from a majority of McDonald's locations and were only available in select markets. But by 2000, the entire Deluxe line, including the Arch Deluxe, was discontinued and left McDonald's menus forever. Well, a rehashed version called the Arch Burger was brought back into test markets in 2018, but that didn't go anywhere. There were many reasons why the Arch Deluxe failed, but the three main reasons were this. 1. The price was just too high to justify what the sandwich was. 2. McDonald's didn't realize that people bought their food for its familiar taste. They didn't go to McDonald's for a burger experience they'd get at a sit-down restaurant. And 3. The confusing and counterproductive marketing campaign turned most people off of the sandwich. When the commercials portray kids not liking a burger, it makes adults think that they wouldn't like it either. So by the year 2000, the Arch Deluxe was discontinued. The third reincarnation of the McDLT, this burger was called the Big and Tasty. A year after the Arch Deluxe had debuted and became a monumental flop, McDonald's filed a trademark for the name Big and Tasty on July 7, 1997. In late August of 1997, the Big and Tasty was test marketed in the United States and California. The Big and Tasty was made up of a quarter-pound beef patty, lettuce, a large tomato slice, pickles, onions, mayonnaise, and ketchup, all within a sesame seed bun. The sandwich became a hit right away for its no frills and straight-to-the-point presentation, and for its low price at 99 cents. It was a great deal for a burger of that size. At the same time, in the northeastern United States, a similar version of the Big and Tasty, called the Big Extra, was being test marketed as well. The Big and Tasty and the Big Extra were almost the same, except that the Big Extra had a slightly larger beef patty at 4.6 ounces instead of 4, and it was also seasoned with a unique spice and salt blend. In 2000, the Big and Tasty was blended from test markets into a national release on a smaller scale, meaning that it wasn't available in every single McDonald's location. But all of that changed in January 2001, when McDonald's launched the Big and Tasty onto all of its menus nationwide across the United States. The launch of the burger was loosely tied with the opening of Disneyland's new California Adventure Park in February of 2001. During this promotion, the Big and Tasty was sold for 99 cents. In 2002, it became the flagship menu item on the McDonald's dollar menu. February 3rd, 2003, the Big and Tasty was taken off of the dollar menu and replaced with the double cheeseburger. This was because the cost to make the Big and Tasty rose, and the idea of still keeping it on the dollar menu wasn't profitable enough for McDonald's. The Big and Tasty stayed on the McDonald's menu with a price around $1.50 until it was taken off the menu in the United States on January 1st, 2011. The discontinuation of the Big and Tasty marks the end of the timeline of McDonald's trying to push a burger in the spirit of the McDLT. McDonald's silently put up a white flag claiming defeat over trying to compete with Burger King's Whopper. McDonald's tested the waters with the McFeast, perfected freshness and unique packaging with the McDLT, tried a low-fat angle with the McLean Deluxe, went gourmet with the Arch Deluxe, and finally tried the low-price route with the Big and Tasty. Among all of these attempts, the McDLT is the burger most people bring up when it comes to discontinued items from McDonald's. It's easy to see why, when the packaging is so noticeable and someone like Jason Alexander starred in a commercial for it. Since the Big and Tasty left the menu over 10 years ago, McDonald's has since tried a number of new menu items, from their signature sandwich line, to chicken wings, to donut sticks. Most of these items have come and gone, with not much demand for them to come back. From 1984 to 1990, the McDLT was a sandwich of the time. It was revolutionary, in a way in which a McDonald's burger had never featured fresh lettuce and tomato on a burger. It was the polystyrene packaging that made it all happen, to keep the hot side hot and the cool side cool. If they tried with cardboard packaging in the same shape now, it just wouldn't work. The McDLT as it was could have only existed in the 1980s, or beforehand. So for the many online demanding McDonald's to bring back the McDLT, know that it just isn't possible in this day and age. It has me think of the old saying from Dr. Seuss, "Don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened." And that is the history of the McDLT.
The McDLT! I'm talking quarter pound of beef on the hot, hot side.
And the hot stays hot.
The new McDLT.
Hot, hot.
Crisp lettuce and tomato on the cool, cool side.
And the cool stays cool.
The new McDLT.
Cool crisp.
The beef stays hot, the cool stays crisp. Put it together, you can't resist. The hottest taste, the coolest dish.
Keep it hot, hot. Keep it cool, cool. McDLT, McDLT.